good. He was very strong, very direct, not a lot of laughs, but you sit there and even if he's in a grumpy mood, you say, oh my God, it's Michael Bennett. I mean, Chorus Line is enough. It's because of what he's done with Chorus Line, but also because of the intensity and the clarity of his thought, that he would harangue his designers and all. When we were teching Dreamgirls for Broadway, I happened to be sitting with him and Theoni at the finale of the first act when Jennifer is doing the big number. And they turned to each other and they said, she looks too powerful. She looks too successful. She shouldn't look this good right now. And Michael said, I got it. And he went downstage and called out the Carpenters and said, cut an inch off her chair legs. And all of a sudden, she was dressed the same behavior, but she was in her chair like this. And the whole character for the song appeared. Is it the hair? Is it the costume? It's the chair. It's just, he was magical. Crazy stuff. Intense. Anne Ranking had a trumpet solo in Benny Goodman's Sing, Sing, Sing toward the end of the second act. And she had this incredible blue dress that was cut by Willa Kim and sequined in strips to really reflect the angularity of the movements in that solo. And whenever Annie was out, Bob wouldn't allow just any understudy to wear the blue dress. You needed special permission on the night from Bob to let that blue dress go into anyone else's hands, because that's Annie's dress. It's for the perfect performance. It's not for the likes of you. So that was one of his big backstage tension sources, because he was always doing some mind game on some number of dancers in the production. There was a woman who had to do it. She was the only cover in the building. And this one day, this woman with a chip on her shoulder said, I'm doing it, but I'm doing it in the blue dress. Bob wouldn't give her the dress. And so she came to me and she said, I'm not going on. Who else is going to do this number? It's the highlight of the second act. So I called Bob and I said, so I've got this problem. Deal with it. No, I've got this real problem. I believe this woman. You know how crazy she is. She's not going to do the matinee. We're going to have this thumping hole in the second act. And we fire her. I said, I can't fire her, and it's 5 of 2, and we have an issue here. And our dance captain on the show, who hung around backstage, the girl who looks after the choreography, was Gwen Verdon.
Wow.
So Gwen and I both had to get involved, calling back and forth to Bob. Gwen was doing it on a kind of humanitarian, creative level. I was doing it on a hardcore business level. And you know, the stupid thing is, I don't know which way it got resolved. I do know the matinee went up. I think probably she did it in the yellow dress, and I took her up on charges for insubordination with equity, which didn't get her fired, but it was just like a black mark in her record. But there was that kind of stress backstage a lot, because the demands on those dancers was stupendous. The word among show folk that year was, Chorus Line is college, dancing is graduate school. It's like you graduate from there to the intensity. There was the Bob Fosse stuff. Billy and I went to opening night of 42nd Street on Broadway. And at the end of the show, we had got back to where a standing room is, the back of the orchestra section. And as it happened, we were standing next to Ethel Merman, and she grabbed my arm and she just like drained the blood out of my arm as she stood there listening to David Merrick. She was deeply traumatized.
Oh, wow. Well, we all were. That was I mean, you know about that night.
Tell us that story. Yeah, tell us that story.
Well, so David Merrick was playing huge games with the press. He wasn't announcing when the previews were starting. They had tried out in Washington, did decently, but then he was bringing it into New York in August, into the Winter Garden. But they started performing without an audience, so that he was the only one watching it.
Like endless dress rehearsals.
Endless dress rehearsals,
dress.
but it was full orchestra, full dress, blah, blah, and so it was, what's going on at the Winter Garden? What's going on with David Merrick? And so there was hype happening, but nobody had seen it. That's why he was building anticipation and building stuff up. So then the show happens, and it was great because it's Broadway at its, zenith. And the curtain calls happened, and then we were on our way out to go to the party. The curtain call, they were still on stage applauding, but the applause was dying down. And David Merrick came out, and everybody cheered. And David Merrick said, "I'm sorry, this is a very sad, very, very sad time." And everybody laughed. And he said, no, you don't understand. And he went over and stood next to Wanda Richert, and he went, "Gower Champion died this afternoon." And Wanda Richert collapsed in his arms. Everybody kind of looked at each other. Jerry Orbach stepped forward and said, "Bring in the curtain, bring in the curtain." They brought in the curtain, and the house lights came up. And we didn't know what to do. And we didn't go to the party. I don't think anybody went to the party. We just kind of staggered home and found out that that was the news, that Gower Champion had died.
But he had died at like 3 o'clock.
And
Merrick got the first call, and he sent his guy over to the hospital to pay the doctors and nurses to not let word get out.
No word.
So that he could do the timing of it at the curtain call, as he ultimately did, as a press move.
It's a press move.
Yeah.
Which is
and it worked. It was
in keeping with what 42nd Street's about, that it was just...
And it was giant headlines for days after that, till the See Me story came out later that he had
done that,
orchestrated the timing so blatantly.
But then 42nd Street, which was opening in August and would have been a hit, became a smash hit.
And it was a great production.
Yeah.